Hey everyone, it's Ellis, and this is the patch 14 notes rundown for the second time, as if you were following my Twitter or my Instagram or anything like that, then you will have known that upon installing Vanguard earlier today, which is now out globally as of this patch, my PC bricked. And if you're like me and some other people on Twitter also had the same issues, you too might have to have removed your CMOS battery and gone into your BIOS and done all this other stuff to get your PC working again. So that is the first big change of 14.9, in case your PC is not working and you're watching this from mobile. So 14.9 patch notes. Now, I will say that I did just get done basically looking at all of the new items coming in 14.10, and it is a major overhaul. So with that being said, we have to keep that in mind when thinking about a lot of the changes that we're about to read, because the game is just going to change in 14.10. So in a way, this is kind of a fake patch. Now, I don't mind that this is kind of a fake patch because, well, I'll tell you. So Vanguard is in the game, guys, all right? So Riot wants you to know that with 14.9, Riot's proprietary anti-cheat system will be deployed and active in League of Legends. This means that active enforcement of Vanguard will be in effect and working hard to make sure that your queues are free from scripters, botters, and cheaters by making sure that neither them or you are even able to load up your computer. We recently released a blog detailing the why behind... No, I'm kidding. But honestly, it doesn't seem like it's affecting a whole lot of people. It does seem like there are just some anomalies, and I am one of those people that ended up having to have just something super weird. But anyways, yeah, so Vanguard is now in the game. DX9 Deprecation. In 14.9, we will be ending DirectX 9 support for League of Legends and teamfight tactics to maintain the stability and performance of our games. We need to deprecate some support for our older hardware and software that isn't widely used by players anymore. Okay, Sin ASU. All of these things are really cool. We looked at it on Twitter, elsewhere, and all that is very good. Ranked 1 split into timing. Here's a reminder that Split 1 end date is quickly approaching, and if you're on the cusp of hitting your rank goal for the season, or if you're determined to push for another 2 ranks, make sure to mark your calendars and get those games in, because this is the last patch of Split 1, and Split 2 will kick off on the following day on May 15th at noon, so get ready. Okay, so again, Split 2 is going to kick off, and when Split 2 ends up kicking off, it's going to end up being what? So Split 2 will kick off, yeah, on the 15th. So that is going to be really cool. Now, so that's a little weird, actually. I don't know how they're going to do that. So I wonder if, what is the League of Legends patch schedule? So I don't know if the very first day of Split 2 is played on 14.9. But I'm actually checking that for you guys right now. So, no. Okay, so I'm wondering if... Yeah, okay, so maybe the very first day of Split 2 has a little bit of both patches. So that is something to keep in mind. Arena, are you ready to rumble? Arena is back for round 3 with all the crazy shenanigans. Arena is finally back. And there's a bunch of stuff there. There's obviously arena creators that are entering the space on like Twitter and stuff. You can see them. I'm not going to go over the arena changes. Big gameplay changes. Like the changes that you want to read about, because these are the most important changes in the patch. We've got plenty of smaller scope balance changes, but if you want the ones with the largest gameplay impact, start with these. Okay, so item. Hexdrinker. Item recipe is Longsword, Low Magic Mantle, 500 gold to Longsword, Low Magic Mantle, 150 gold. This is obviously a lot better to build into. This feels a lot better on the reset if you just didn't have that extra 150 gold. Now, it is really rare that you wouldn't actually have that extra 150 gold. And what I mean by that is that typically, if you're that close to Hexdrinker in the first place, 150 gold, well, a cannon wave, no matter what, is actually already more than 150 gold, even at the very first cannon wave that spawns. Because the very first cannon that spawns inside of the game is worth 60 gold, and it scales up to 90 gold. So a non-cannon wave is 102 gold. So when you factor in the recall timer and everything else, ultimately what you're saying is at most you'd be about 38 seconds away from completing a Hexdrinker if you were away from it in the past. What this ends up doing is if you get a kill or something like that and it lines up perfectly for a recall, now you're going to be rewarded with a little bit more damage on the reset. Magic resistance, however, is going to go down by 5, but that's not really why you're getting the item. So ultimately, it doesn't really matter. Maw of Malmortius is going up by 300 gold. Ability haste is going to go up by 15. Magic resistance is going to go down by 10. Attack damage is going to go up by 5. Lifeline duration is going to go up by 0.5 seconds. And the lifeline buff is going to go down to 10% Omnivamp. This item is dead. No one's building this item anymore. This is one of the grossest, most misunderstood purchased items in the entire game. And now at 3,100 gold, I can't imagine anyone ever wanting to buy this item ever over, say, like Sterak's. And the only time where maybe something like that is going to happen is when the enemy team is actually going to have an obscene amount of magic damage. And even then, I'm sure there's better itemization. Death Stance. Steel Sigil, Caulfield's Warhammer, 1,000 gold to Steel Sigil, Caulfield's Warhammer, Pickaxe, 125 gold. Again, same thing to the Hexdrinker. Over attack damage is up by 5, and the Defy healing bonus, 50% bonus AD to 75% bonus AD, so it's actually giving you a little bit more healing back. Definitely a nice little buff to the item. Sterak's Gage is getting a massive nerf, 200 gold added to it. So, now, for bruisers in top lane that were rushing Sterak's Gage, first item or second item, well, second item, it's not really going to matter because, again, 200 gold, cannon waves at that point inside of the game are going to be giving you about 180, so it doesn't really matter. It's stunning Q, 1 cannon wave, right? Now, cannon waves become every 2 waves, so initially the game starts out, cannon wave is 1 every 3 waves, and then the game timer hits a certain amount, becomes 1 every 2 waves, and then the game timer, again, hits a certain amount, and it becomes every single wave is a cannon. So with that being said, it depends on when you're building Sterak's. At most, this is a 1-wave, or at least this is a 1-wave delay. At most, this is typically going to be a 2-wave delay, so you're looking at a 1-minute in-game delay. Now, for junglers, this is a 2-camp delay, which does feel a little bit worse. The lifeline cooldown going up from 60 to 90 seconds, that doesn't really matter because, again, you're still getting it once per fight, so nerfs like this are always fake news. Sundered Sky. Light Shield Strike target per target cooldown is going to go from 6 to 8. Remember, Ingenious Hunter is getting removed in 1410. Light Shield Strike healing 140% base AD, 6% missing health to 120% base AD, plus 6% missing health. So it's getting really heavily nerfed in addition to what's coming in 1410. This is just going to be painful. Eclipse. Eclipse is currently the best performing for first item slot fighter item, so we're taking a little bit off the front end burst in order to open up some alternative itemization options. It's still going to be the earliest power spike you can receive with its low 2,800 gold price point, but now it won't be able to let you win the lane quite as hard. 8% melee, 4% range, target's maximum health, to 6% melee, 4% range, target's maximum health. So 2% of the target's maximum health. Again, it's not going to be the end of the world. It's not going to really change that much. Okay. So champions, Akshan. Q movement speed on champions hit no longer scales with level. Damage to non-champions decreased. Our minimum damage per shot is increased max adjusted. So move speed on champions hit 20 to 40% plus 5% per 100 AP, which he doesn't build. Matter to 20% at all ranks. So okay. Damage on champions 40 to 90% to 40 to 80%. So that part as well of the Avenger ring. Comeuppance 20 to 30 plus 10% total AD, 25 to 45 plus 15% total AD. That is a very buff for Akshan's minimum damage. Maximum damage per bullet is 80 to 120 to 75 to 135 plus 45% total AD. Nice little buff. Bel'Veth, passive bonus attack speed is adjusted. Q damage is decreased. Q damage to monsters increased early game. So again, Bel'Veth getting a lot of changes as well in 1410 that we did just go over, and so kind of cool that I'm re-recording the patch notes rundown, where now I know about 1410 and I can talk about these types of things. So the bonus attack speed per stack 0.28 to 1%, levels 1 to 13 to 0.28 to 1%, levels 1 to 17. Note this means that at levels 2 to 16, Bel'Veth will still have slightly less attack speed, and this is pronounced at level 13. Q Void Surge is going to be 10 to 30 plus 110% total AD to 10 to 30 plus 100% total AD. Monster damage modifier 140% total damage to 45 to 85 flat damage. Note this is a buff until 136 total attack damage. So, now with some of the changes that she's going to end up getting, I do not think that this is going to be the end of the world. Now, she is losing quite a bit of damage of the Void Surge against enemy champions. That cannot be understated. Now, with the change that she is getting in 1410 to some of her items, it's not going to be the end of the world. It's going to end up balancing out, but it is going to mean that some of the 1410 items aren't as great as, you would think that they would be. Kennen, E damage range indicator added. Our animation added can now cast while moving. Kennen's a pretty sad Yordle in his current state, and that's Amumu's job. We're giving Kennen a meaningful buff by making his kit more synergistic with itself. Lightning Rush added a range indicator for the duration of the radius. Very cool. Our Slicing Maelstrom, new animations have been added for Slicing Maelstrom. Kennen can now cast his ultimate while moving. Very, very nice change as well. Nilah, Q minimum damage is decreased. Bonus attack speed is increased. Bonus damage based on critical strike chance is decreased. Q, Formless Blades. Minimum damage is 5 to 25, 90 to 120% AD, to 5 to 25 plus 90 to 110% total AD. Bonus attack speed 10 to 50% to 10 to 60% based on level. Critical strike chance damage modifier 100 to 220% to 100 to 200% based on critical strike chance. And remember, critical strike chance is changing in 14.10 as you will now be able to get 100% of critical strike chance items. Sejauni, passive bonus resistances increased. W damage is adjusted. Bonus resistances 10 plus 50% bonus armor magic resistance to 10 plus 75% bonus armor magic resistance. Okay, Winter's Wrath is going to be 10 to 30 plus 20% AP, 2% of her max health, to 5 to 45 plus 20% AP, 4% of her maximum health. Second hit, 20 to 180, 60% AP, 6% of her max health, to 5 to 85 plus 60% AP, 8% of her max health. Maximum damage is going to be 30 to 210, etc. This is all fine, but again, Sejuani, it's sort of like whatever. Is going to probably be picked. It is just the way that it is. Okay, Skarner. Mono region growth is increased. Q damage is decreased. Buff no longer refreshed when hitting wards plants. That is a very big nerf. If you guys have been watching my stream the last couple of days where I was playing Skarner and whatnot, you guys will have known about the red buff clear where you pick up the rock at 120, you hit the blast cone at 125, and it lets you double Q the red buff for a really sped up clear. W slow is decreased. Skarner is currently very overpowered. True, especially in elite play. Very true. Where he's making the rift in his enemy boots quake. His potent early game often ends games before other champions can reach their power spikes, which is why we're going after his early games. Okay. So, mono regeneration 0.6 to 0.75. Okay, so his mono regen is now going up a little bit. Shattered Earth Upheaval 10 to 70 plus 60% bonus AD, 5% of bonus health, to 10 to 50, 60% bonus AD, 5% of his bonus health. So he's losing the flat damage. Now, you're not really going to feel it that much until the later stages. So this isn't the end of the world. The Q refresh on buff duration upon attacking wards or plants, again, not the end of the world. There's also some mechanics that people aren't doing with Skarner where, again, his Q can just come out faster and all this other type of stuff. Not going to be the end of the world. W Seismic Bastion, slow 20 to 40% to 20% of all ranks. This is a little bit of a nerf because W is his second max. Now, 20 to 40% isn't really the end of the world. Well, no. When Skarner's like level 10, when he's level 12 or something like that, you know, and you're looking at these numbers, what is really the difference? You're going to end up losing 30 MS from them, but you're already on top of them for the most of the time. Now, the shield, 9% maximum health to 8% maximum health. You're losing 1% max health. Again, it's not going to be the end of the okay, Skarner in the ultra end stages have 5,000 max HP. You lose 1% max health on the shield, and that's assuming that they even hit you and actually go through the shield. It's not the end of the world. You're going to be told. Champion. Radiuses. Radii? Okay. So a lot of champions here have been made larger or smaller. And so obviously that's going to mess with some people. Well, let's just take a look at... Oh, okay. Malzahar actually got thicker. Alistar is going to be smaller. Aurelion Soul now gets smaller. Doesn't even make sense. Azir now 120. Bard is also going to be... okay. Blitzcrank. So interestingly, this is actually probably going to affect things for like hook champions and like skill shot champions. Brand was apparently really thin. What? Rom is going to get very thick. Okay, Malzahar was apparently really thin as well. 120 now. Malzahar is apparently so thick that he's here twice. Like, I don't know. Meganar, 180 to 140. Okay. Gameplay radius, okay. Pathfinding stuff, okay. Small gameplay changes. These are small gameplay changes. Ahri, W damage is decreased. R cooldown is increased. W Foxfire, 50 to 150, 30% AP to 45 to 145 plus 30%. So, just 5 flat damage coming down off the W. Doesn't matter. Does not change her play pattern. Does not change her gameplay pattern. Does not change anything that she's doing. R Spirit Rush is not actually going up in CDR. Completely fake news. She is still going to have it up every single fight. Every single fight, it will still be up. This is a fake change. Doesn't. Okay. Amumu, base AD and armor is increased. AD is up by 4, armor is up by 3. Amumu is going to be a little bit more durable and less able to be invaded on his first clear. And he's probably, I would imagine this actually hastens his clear speed by maybe like 5 seconds. Just because he does auto attack a lot. I could see it saving an auto in total. And so because of that, through all of the camps, I could imagine that, yes, maybe it speeds up his clear by 5 seconds. Or something like that. Okay. So Aurelion Soul, E damage is decreased. Singularity, 50 to 150, 100% AP to 50 to 150 plus 80%. So yes, definitely a bit of a painful nerf, but don't worry, Aurelion Soul, because love is coming to you in the next patch. With 1410 items, he is going to get some of that damage back. So, Blitzcrank, passive shield duration, W, initial bonus movement speed decrease. Passive mana barrier, passive shield duration, 10 to 4 seconds. Doesn't really matter. It's very rare that, like, the 10 seconds goes the full duration. 4 seconds is already kind of obnoxious enough. Overdrive, 70 to 90%, 60 to 80%, doesn't matter. Evelynn, W slow decrease, R damage decrease, doesn't matter. Janna, damage decrease, E shield is increased. So yeah, they're hurting high-level players and they're rewarding bad players, basically. Because, again, the shield will not entirely be chewed through, doesn't matter. R cooldown is increased, it's a fake nerf, doesn't matter. Karma, Q slow increased, RE on shield, secondary targets increased, bonus movement speed increased. It's really weird how they just really want Karma to always sort of be around. Q Inner Flame, the slow is going up by 5%, so it's reducing like half of boost. Person, RE Mantra, Defiance, 90% of target's primary target, extra shield, 100% of primary target's extra shield. AoE movement speed bonus is going to go up by 3%. Kassadain, E damage is decreased. So, Force Pulse, 60 to 180 plus 80% AP to 60 to 180 plus 70% AP. So he's losing 10% AP on his Force Pulse. So he could be losing anywhere from like 120 to 240 damage per key. That's the way to end up looking at it. Malzahar, Q mana cost is decreased, E cooldown is decreased, Q void. Mana cost. So if you guys saw my tweet on Malzahar last week, then you will already know my thoughts on this. So the Q is his second max ability, and you do not want to max Q first. You max Q first if you're clueless and don't know what you're doing on the champion, because it is just really that important that you have E be his first max. Now, my delivery thing, but the guy's gonna find a way to get in. Fine. Okay, so all right, so E, Malefic Visions, 15 to 7 seconds. Now the most important thing to look at is rank 3. Talking about 9 versus 11. This is a conditionally casted ability. Okay, and what I mean by that is Malzahar doesn't just cast E immediately off cooldown. He needs setup. Minions have to be certain HP values. His mana has to be certain HP. He has to have mana flow ready, or maybe need Comet ready. Etc. Yada yada yada. So, with that being said, it's kind of fake. Like, this is kind of fake. And then once you get it to rank 4, you're talking about a 1 second difference. It doesn't really matter. Now, the mana cost on Q, what I did end up seeing a little bit earlier is I did see that Futures Market is apparently gone in 1410. So, Sapphire starts now with his Q. Okay, getting to save like 1 extra cast of an ability or 2 extra casts of an ability or like that, that's going to be a little bit okay, but these are not the types of buffs that Malzahar needs. The problem with Malzahar is that he lost his items. He suffered a lot of indirect nerfs through itemization as we came into Season 14, and he lost his items. Now he gets Rylai's 3rd or sometimes even 4th in certain game states. He's forced into Malignance a lot of the time, and all of this just feels really bad. But fear not, as 1410 is now bringing Blackfire Torch, and in addition to that, it is also now buffing the curve into Liandry's. So Malzahar and every Malzahar player can rejoice in knowing that he is going to feel a lot better next patch. So be playing him a lot in anticipation for those items to arrive and hit the Rift, and then we'll make an actual legitimate push for GM this time around. Okay, as I was 1 win off it last year, and Mastery, E bonus true damage is decreased, E Wuju style, 30 to 50 to 20 to 40. They're just making Cenarius have a little bit of a harder time before his career run. Olaf. Okay, so Olaf, Q damage decreased, bonus damage to monsters increased, R passive resistances is decreased. Olaf is currently 2-lane dominant up in top lane, and his late game resists make him disproportionately good against magic damage. Specifically, flat magic penetration, which we'd like to soften. This still leaves Olaf as a fairly tanky late-game champion, but still makes him rely more on his W and his lifesteal to achieve that. Q undertow 65 to 265, plus 100% bonus AD to 60 to 260, plus 100% of bonus AD. Bonus damage to monsters is now going up, but again, you don't want to put Olaf inside of the jungle. The reason that you don't want to put Olaf inside of the jungle is because he is a hyper-scaling late-game carry champion now, as long as he is paired correctly. Now, typically when you put him into the jungle, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to pair him with some champions because Ivern, being one of his best friends, obviously is the jungle champion. People aren't going to lane and stuff like that. Karma is getting pushed a little bit more. Soraka's in a very good state right now and these types of things, but people are drafting Olaf incorrectly anyway. If you just draft Olaf to be an AD stat stick the way that people are drafting Xin Zhao, you're going to have a really bad time. This is a champion that wants levels and he wants gold. He's not getting either from the jungle the way that you want it. So with all the Olaf nerfs up in top lane, it does just continue to get worse and worse for Olaf. Okay. Okay. Pyke, W mana cost is increased. Cooldown is increased as well. So mana cost going up by 15. Undertow 12 to 8 to 14 to 10. Totally fine. Nerf Seraphine Q AP ratio is increased. Q high note 60 to 1% AP to 60 to 166. My bell is ringing. 1 second. Okay, my food has arrived. Okay. Taliyah, Q mana cost is increased. Damage to monsters decreased. Q threaded volley. So the Q mana cost is increased. Damage to monsters decreased. I feel like Taliyah is more so just a mid laner than she is a jungler in most cases. The mana cost is going up. This is, I mean, you know, it's sort of whatever. The mana cost of 20 on workaround unchanged. That's totally fine. Bonus damage to monsters is also going down in AP. Twitch, base health decreased, health growth increased, W slow, AP ratio decreased, our bonus AD decreased. Okay. So this is totally fine because Twitch is getting a lot of love in 1410 via itemization. So that's totally fine. This is a completely fake change. 1% AP. AP. Like, what even is this, by the way? What even is this? What? Wow, you lose 1% movement. Oh my god. Oh my god, 1% MS slow. Oh my you can't even note. I wouldn't even be surprised if that doesn't even change a champion from the pixel. You know what I mean? Like that is such a crazy change. Base health, however, is going down by 52. That is one of the biggest nerfs I think that I've ever seen. Health growth, however, is going up by 4. Okay, Urgot. Armor growth is decreased. Hurts him inside of the jungle. And that is it. MSI Clash is now going to be out. So this is a little bit weird. I get questions about this all the time. Every time I see Clash and stuff, obviously I think of like Clash tier lists and stuff on Patreon and stuff. Guys, Riot's patches, the last 4 patches, don't change enough. If you saw on Twitter in February, March, and, you know, April, there were certain comments that I left beneath certain content creation posts about tier lists and changes. These types of changes aren't doing anything, okay? These changes, if I had a publicly available tier list, okay, and you see something like Karma's movement speed bonus gets 3% more, or your Q slows 5% more, this isn't moving Karma in a tier list, okay? If she was A, she's still A, all right? This is not a sizable enough change for people that are playing this champion that if you play 100 games on her, this is now a reason to elevate her inside of a list and mean that you should be playing her more, or that you're more likely to win because of a change like this. If I had Jinx as S tier inside of a tier list and her R cooldown went up 15 seconds at rank 1, she's not casting it every single time that it's up. If I went through 500 Jinx games, okay, the amount of times that she would cast it off cooldown from having it again, probably less than 5. Which means this is a fake nerf. Which means that just because she's on the patch notes change list and she got nerfed, doesn't mean that her tier list placement moves. okay? Now, same thing for Janna, same thing for Evelynn. These changes are not sizable enough to where if you're making an honest analytical list in some facet, that these champions would ever be just rapidly swinging, okay? And obviously, yes, I'm throwing shade to the guy that just fucking arbitrarily moved Kog'Maw from D tier to fucking S tier in like 2 patches and then cited his reasonings, but then his reasoning should have also completely applied to 3 other champions inside of his own list, but he conveniently moved them down. So, when you see content creators or you see YouTubers just fucking, they're just moving around champions like they're playing fucking like Connect 4 or something. I don't even know. They're just like throwing paint on the wall. And every patch, just champions are moving around. They're getting rearranged and all that. They're lying to you. They're lying and they're lazy and they're just bullshitting you and it's completely fucking fake. And the reason that they're doing that is 1, they can't actually engage with what they're reading with, okay? And reading comprehension is a skill. 2, they don't really know what the fuck is going on, but they feel compelled because they're anxious that they have to change something because they think that if they don't change something, they're gonna get called out. And I know that if they think that if they don't change something, they're gonna get called out because I get called out for not changing things. But at least defend why you don't change anything and then actually point to these fucking points of reference. And when people want to talk about swings and win rate, if you want to go to u.gg, you want to go to, Mobalytics, you want to go to any of these win rate websites, you want to do all these other types of things, and you want to talk about the win rates going up and down, up and down, up and down, and up and down. How about look at all the champions who win rates go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, and they weren't even in the fucking patch notes, guys, okay? There is a million things. Or look at the champions that got nerfed, okay? Their win rate goes down, and then nothing happens. The next patch, it goes right back up to where it was before, okay? It's all fake, all bullshit. Learn how to actually make fucking tier lists. Learn how to actually engage with what you're reading on the fucking screen. And learn how to actually analytically engage with whatever changes are happening here. This is why, analytically, League of Legends is in the worst fucking state, social media-wise, content creation-wise, and pro play-wise, that it has ever fucking been in, because you have a bunch of incompetent jerk-offs that don't even know what the fuck they're doing, and everyone just wants to fucking slingshot shit around because no one has any fucking discernibility with what the hell is going on. I'm so pissed right now. I just had to get this out of my system. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Are there any skins in this patch? There is. Let's take a look. Yeah, they all look the same. All right, that's it. So that's it for the patch. They all look the same. I'm gonna get my food.